Hello. So, I am going to be talking about messages with files for the assignments, going over the code line by line. Starting off, we have the imports that we needed, so systems, getopt, socket, threading, OS. After that, you get the options and the arguments, so this time we're getting L, P, and S. And if we fail, we just simply give an error, we print out the error, and we close the system. We then make a dictionary of the option values that we're trying to accept, and we set the argc is equal to the length of args, and we create the socket with a set default timeout of 10. After this, we're trying to determine if we're going to be using in client mode or server mode. Determine this by checking to see the length of options, and if the length of options is greater than 1, then we must be in client mode. So if we're in client mode, we set the server address to localhost if S is not in options in the dictionary. Otherwise, if it is, we just give the value located at S. We create the connecting port number, which is the value located at P. We create the listening port, which is the value located at L. Sock, we just set up the socks and then we connect the socks to the server. And if the length of options is not 1, or if it is 1 rather, sorry, then we are in server mode. So the server address, because the assignment dictated that we could do it as such, is automatically set to localhost by default. When we create the listening port number, again using the value at L, and then we just simply create the server sockets and we set it up, bind it, and we listen for the clients. Then we also set the socket and address to the accepted server socket, which we've done previously. Going from there, we set up various functions we'll require, starting off with receive message. So to begin with, we try to print whatever we receive from the sock. If we can't, then we set to print is equal to false, but while there is something to print, we take the file request indicator, set it to false, the message indicator is also set to false. Then we try to print whatever the value is at the to print value, we decode it. Try to see if it's a file request indicator, and we print with the start. So if it's a file request, we start it with the cache symbol. Otherwise, we pass. If it's a message indicator type, then we set it with the ampersand. Then otherwise, we pass. And if neither of those, then we just pass again. Scrolling down a little bit. If the file request indicator if that's the case, then we try to print from the print value of 1 on. We strip it by the new line. We do the send file thread. So we create the thread, we start it, we join it. Otherwise, if it's a message indicator, then we simply print it out. And we also, once that's all determined, we try to print again. We go to the next line and repeat the cycle up until there's nothing to print anymore, in which case we set it to false, and then therefore we break the cycle because toPrint is now false. Scrolling down a bit, we go to our send file function, which takes a file name. And we set f equals the opening of the file name with the RB. And we set L equal to file.read. So while L is true, we print sending and whatever the value of L is. Socket tries to send L. L is then set to the next read value of F. And once that cycle is complete, there's no longer anything to send through L. Then the while loop is closed. And F is closed as well. The file is closed. Going from there for the receive file, we receive it by a file name. File name is script. F is opened file name for writing. We then print about to write to this file, and you set the file name. Then we set the value of data equal to whatever the sock is receiving, print out the data and what it is, and while the data is true, while something is being received from the sock, F writes the data to the file, or f.write, you write the data to the file, print out what the data is once again. The data is then checked for the sock to see if there's anything else to receive, and this loops until there's nothing else to receive, in which case the file is then closed. We then create a receive message thread and we start it, and then while true, this is just the messaging example as posted by the assignment. So this is the print statement just saying enter an option, M, F, or X for message, file, or exit. We then create option choice, which is whatever the read line of the given value is by the user. So in the event that it's an M, then we print enter your message, and then we just to send the value with the message indicator value from the read line that the user printed. We try to send it, and otherwise we pass. Otherwise, if it's a file, we do which file do you want. We set the file name equal to, well, we strip it first. Then to send, we set the file name, file indicator symbol. Then we create a receive message thread, we join it, we receive file thread, we create that, start it, then we try to send, we encode the message and try to send it off. And if neither of those and it's an X, we simply try to close the sockets. We say closing your sockets, goodbye, and then we break the cycle. If it's none of the above, then we say I can't understand you because we do not recognize the option choice given. Finally, we try to receive the file thread. So basically, we're trying to close out the thread, and if that doesn't work, we pass once again. Then we close the sockets, and if the length of options is equal to 1, that means it's the server, so then we close the server socket specifically, and finally we close the OS because the program is done. And that is it, so thank you for your time.